If you really have no clue about what you want your channel to be about, or you're struggling to come up with ideas, here's hopefully a bunch of ideas. And I want you to get either a piece of paper out or start typing. Hey, what's up, everybody? Mike Kramer here, helping you grow your YouTube channel or start it if you're over 40. And I want you to brainstorm some niche ideas, or niche if you prefer. I'm going to say niche because I'm American that pronounces everything funny. So some of the things we're going to do a brainstorm so we can refine this later. Pause this video as needed, but you're going to go through these and just come up with, barf out whatever comes out of your brain. Don't even think about it. Just write it down. And so here we go. Ready to go? You ready to start? Remember, pause if you need to, because you want to get through all these. We'll later worry about how to filter, refine it, and group these ideas. But first, what have you bought lately? So that's something people don't always think about. But, and I'm not talking just groceries, but, maybe it's a new type of grocery. Maybe you have a new diet. Maybe you have new diet restrictions. Maybe you have, but we're not just talking groceries. I mean, interest-based, like look at your Amazon history or wherever you shop. What kind of stores do you frequent? If you had extra spending money, where would you spend it? Things like that. It's showing you what you're willing to spend your money on. You'd rather have that thing or that knowledge than the money in your pocket. So look at where you've bought things lately, especially if it's a course or something online or any kind of knowledge, or subscribe to something, stuff like that. So that's a great place to start, is just where are you spending your money, and also kind of where you're spending your attention, but see historically what you've bought lately. So that's one idea. And so I'm just looking at my notes here, but what have you searched for on the internet? So now I don't want to know anything weird, but you don't have to put it in the comments either. But if you go to any browser, there's a history. It's usually under like view history, something like that in the settings. And you could see what you've searched for on the internet and look for these common ideas. Maybe you can tell off the top of your head, but sometimes you forget, just can't think of it. You could always look at that history in your browser and see what you search for and what the themes are. There's usually maybe a common interest, something like that. So also similarly, the second biggest search engine on the internet is YouTube, also owned by Google. But what you've searched for on YouTube. So in YouTube, there is a history as well. And if you, maybe I'll just share my screen really quick. If you go to, I was on this Think Media recently, but if you go to your homepage and down here to history, you'll see the list of everything you've been watching, and you can see the channels, the titles, stuff like that, and hopefully figure out, maybe that's helpful to you, and you'll see kind of if there's themes there about what you're watching and what you're spending your time and attention on. Courses you've paid for recently. So I kind of talk about that with the purchases, but specifically courses are interesting because that's usually knowledge or skill that you want to acquire or get better at, or whatever, refine it, learn about, etc. And you're willing to spend money on that and learn about that and get better at it. And so that's something that, why not show and share with others as you're learning it and help other people do that as well. So obviously you can't share the paid license material or whatever that you paid for, but I'm just talking about from your perspective and your experience, you can help other people do that. But those courses you paid for are a good sign of something you really care about and you really want to learn and you have an interest in it. So similarly, speaking of interest, what TV shows do you watch? What movies do you watch? Is there a certain category? Do you love true crime or thrillers or horror movies, comedies, stand-up, documentaries? Do you like sci-fi? Are you into hero, super, what do they call it? Superhero and comic book movies, or Star Wars? I mean, some people have created entire channels on Star Wars. Now there's a lot of copyright license restrictions and things to think about when you're doing those, but you can absolutely have a fan channel and cover these events. And side note, fun fact is, when I think about AI and future proof and things that won't take our, or will take our careers away, One thing I think is pretty safe is that what I call human experience stuff. So these conventions that people go to and all that sort of thing, they're always going to exist. So it's just something to think about. What TV shows you watch, what movies. So what also keeps you up at night? Things that you either worry about or think about. Often other people are as well. So that might be a topic you'd want to do a YouTube channel on. Here's another one. If you had $100 million or some large amount of money and never had to work again, never had to think about working again, what would you do every day? And this isn't the time to be charitable. I want you to be a little selfish. And what I mean by that is if your answer is I would just help feed people or help other people or spend more time with my family, that's great. I struggle to think of a YouTube channel around that. If you can, that's great. Hey, it's just a question. It's just a brainstorm spark to get you going. And if you could think of something for that to do a YouTube channel on, that's awesome. But what I intend when I wrote that is it usually shows your interest. Not once you're kind of unchained and you don't have to worry about paying the bills, what would you do if you had kind of unlimited money? What are your passions? And it might be travel the world. It could be buy a million Lamborghinis and Ferraris because you love cars. It could be pay the best trainers in the world to be an expert in jiu-jitsu and then enter a world competition. There's been people that have done that sort of thing. I forgot his name, but there's a famous blog writer that did all sorts of crazy things that he never thought he could do just to prove that he could do it. And then he actually got really popular and I think quite wealthy doing that too, just because it was interesting, right? It was a story that not many other people had. So that's another one. If you had $100 million, never had to work again, or $1 billion, whatever number, where you never have to think about money, what would you do every day? Or what would you do even if it's not every day? What would you do? What's something that you would do with that money? There's another one. If you asked other people what you are good at or an expert in, what do you think they'd say? And actually, I'd say, what do they say? Ask them, like literally ask them what you're good at or what you're an expert in, or when they think of you, what kind of skill sets do they think of? For me, it's computers. Like if I ask anybody, family, friends, or whatever, hey, what am I good at? What am I an expert in? They'd say tech and computers, duh. Cybersecurity, if they know. People just say tech and computers. They don't really define all the subgenres of computer guy. They're just like, yeah, you're a nerd. All right. So ask other people what you're an expert in. That might help. Now, other people, especially if kids, they might say all sorts of interesting things about you that you didn't think of. They may, especially when you ask not what I do for a living, but ask them specifically, what are your skills? What are you good at? What things would they come to you for? And you may get a whole lot of interesting answers from them. Speaking of which, what do you have some expertise in? So here's another one just from your own perspective. What do you have expertise in? And I don't mean you're the best in the world at it. I mean something you have some expertise in, right? Like I would never call myself a professional sound engineer, but I could probably show quite a few people how to get better recordings at home, whether it's for music or for microphone voices, things like that, and help quite a few people in that area, even though I'm not anywhere near the best in the world at any of that sort of thing. I could show people how to play guitar or bass, and I would consider myself not that good at those things, but I have some expertise in it. I could show people certain skills or certain techniques or songs or things I've learned over the years because I've just been doing it so long. So that's another advantage of being over 40 is you have a lot more life experience, and good or bad, that you could share with other people, and your perspectives and your unique takes or approaches on those things. So don't discount any of that. Out of those things you listed, and there's many, many more ideas, right? Like type of music you're into, all different foods you eat, what kind of pets do you have? What are your favorite types of pets? What do you do around the house? What do you wish you could do around the house? What kind of things that you would want to learn? If you had any amount of money, how about that same $100 million? What were the 3 courses you would take for those things? And those are all things that you're interested in, and niches that you could then start a channel on. Because you don't have to be the expert. You could be a research expert, right? You could just be the one that's investigating all these things and interviewing people and doing whatever, right? So out of the list, some other ways to kind of, if you want to start filtering them down, what are you passionate about? So I'm not saying just do a YouTube channel based on your passion. Some people kind of hate that word. And there's pros and cons with that as well, right? Especially if your reason, your why was to make money. Don't just pick your passion. You want something that people are willing to pay for. So that's why I ask to think about your why. And I always remind people, think about the why. Why are you doing YouTube? Because you don't want to just do it for one reason and then your approach is not headed towards that reason. You'll quit early. You won't make it. But out of the list of these ideas, like which ones are you really passionate about? What I mean is like things that you would do even if you never got paid for it. If you never got money, which of those would you keep doing? Which things are you paying for naturally or doing on your own time and finding time to do those things? That's kind of what I mean by what are you passionate about or just feel strongly about. Another way to filter this list or put a little mark or asterisk next to it, these are which of those are you best equipped to teach others about? So maybe I have an interest in bagpipes, and maybe there's a lot of people searching for how to play bagpipes, but I don't have any. I'm not equipped to teach that. I don't even have one. Actually, I do have a set somewhere lying around, oddly enough. But I'm not good at that, and I'm not equipped to teach that. I do have, as you see, bass guitars and guitars. I am equipped to teach others about that. So that's a pretty straightforward example of what are you able to teach about. Another filter, refinement, is which have the most ways to monetize, things that people would pay for. So this is not everyone's most important thing, but often we like to get paid for our time. And if you're spending a lot of time creating these videos for other people on YouTube, it would be nice to get some money for that, even if it's enough to just take your loved ones out for dinner or something like that now and then. If your why is you want to make as much money as possible, or you hate your day job and you'd rather do YouTube, that's fine, but make sure this becomes very important then is which have the most ways to monetize. And what I mean by that, I'll take my examples, people learning guitar versus learning how to make money online. A lot more people are willing to pay more money to learn how to make money online than they are learning to pay guitar. And people do pay for guitar courses. I've done it. Many people have done it. There's guys that are very successful selling courses on how to learn guitar, bass guitar, piano, whatever. But there are more people willing to pay more money to learn how to make money online. So you lean towards that. That's one way to look at it. Maybe that's a bad example because people do pay to learn how to play guitar. I'm not a knitter, but maybe knitting or crochet, maybe it's something you can learn in 5 minutes. I have no idea, right? So don't rip on me if it's not the case. But let's say there's a skill, there's something you can learn very quickly. So nobody would pay money for a course on that, but there's all these other like 5 minutes to learn and a lifetime master type of thing is where I was going with that. So maybe it's just you share with others this thing, nobody would pay for that, like a course or anything, but they're going to watch your channel. It doesn't mean you'd never make money on it. It's just you probably wouldn't make money selling a course on that niche. Another way to think about, and I have a whole nother video, I'll once I make it, I'll put it in the description, but it's on how to make money on YouTube. And think about that. If you haven't seen that or thought about that, there's all these different ways to make money on YouTube. There's the ad revenue, which takes a while, right? And you don't get a whole lot for that. You'd have to have a whole lot of followers to get any decent money from ad revenue as a YouTube partner program. But you can make money right away in affiliate marketing. I have a channel that had like 200 subscribers. I think there's only 400 to this day. And I make about an average of $500 a month for the last 2 years. And it just keeps coming in from one video I made on that channel. So affiliate marketing is another way. If there's recurring revenues, somebody would pay for a product that you pay monthly for, and that product has an affiliate program, you can get a portion of that by referring people to that. Now, I say only do that if it's a product you use yourself or that you love, because you want to be authentic. You want to say, hey, I use this. I think it's awesome. Like, here's how I got this result, and it's more about, I mean, call it influencer, but that's really what affiliate marketing is let's say I have this wristband and I'm like, you know what? Sometimes my wrists and fingers get stiff when I play guitar. And what really helps is when I wear these wristbands while I'm warming up or whatever. I'm just making this up, but although that is why I wear these when I play guitar. And you're like, hey, that really prevents it. And these are awesome. And I'll just put a link to these in the description. And you just think, okay, this guy isn't necessarily selling. I mean, maybe you think that, maybe you don't. But if you're like, hey, I really want that result too, and that sounds like a great idea, I'm going to get those they look cool. I like the design. I'm going to get those exact ones. I'll click on his link. That's affiliate marketing, is you just referred somebody to something that you love or you use, and people didn't know about it, or they didn't know exactly where to find that exact thing. So they use your link to get there, or you add value, right? Like the software I was talking about that people are using monthly, I added additional value by giving them not only additional discounts and other features, but knowledge on how to use the software in it's not really a course, but like on a few documents and scripts they can plug into the software to use it. And it really helps them out. And so that's why people use my link for that instead of not using my link or using someone else's link. Yeah, back to that was just think about ways to monetize your channel and your content. And it could be selling merchandise, selling products. It could be selling a course. It could be affiliate marketing. You could get sponsorships for certain things. But if it's something, and I'm not trying to rip on crocheting, sorry, I just don't know anything about it, which is why I'm bringing it up. But like knitting or crocheting, maybe there's some products there, but I just feel like, just my gut feeling is you couldn't make a whole lot of money on that from a course and sponsorships and affiliate marketing and all that, because it's just not high dollar stuff that is going to change people's lives. And so people are just not willing to spend as much money for it. There's just not as many opportunities. I'm not saying you'd make zero money. I'm just saying there's less opportunities there than other things, like how to improve somebody's career and lifetime earning potential. Somebody's going to pay a lot of money for that, right? It's like why universities make money, or why people are willing to pay so much for courses and universities and that sort of thing. All right. So another idea is like, what blogs do you read? What emails, what newsletters interest you? If you ever, we used to have magazines, and those are pretty much all gone unless you go to, I think Barnes & Noble still has magazines. Which of those stand out? Which do you usually seek out and look for there? Another idea is like, what do you wish you had more time to do? I might have kind of spoke on that earlier. What do you wish you had more time to do? I wish I had more time to play guitar. There's one there. What are you mystified by or amazed that others can do? Maybe you saw something you didn't even know was possible, and you saw somebody do it, and they were maybe your age, your size, your whatever. And you see it and go, wow, if they could do that, I could do that. And I'm amazed, but somebody can do it. So that means I can do it. That's kind of how I think. I don't know if any of y'all think that same way, but another brainstorm idea is like, what are hobbies that you did when you were younger, but don't have the time for now? For me, I was really into RC cars, like radio controlled cars that were off-road. They were not the track ones. They were meant for off-road, and we'd make crazy jumps in the sand and dirt for these to go off and blow the shocks up. And it was crazy, but they were fast and they were a lot of fun to drive around. And I just don't have time for that now. I could make time, but I guess I'm not into it, but it's a way to spark ideas of things that, oh yeah, I used to do that one thing. And like, that's really cool. I wish I still did that. As a kid, we used to play Dungeons and Dragons and all the like spin-off role-playing games like Car Wars and Truck Wars and all these other kind of neat role-playing games when we were camping, and there wasn't no TVs, no power. And we'd play these games when I was in Boy Scouts and stuff like that. So hobbies that you might think of and go, oh yeah, I'm gonna start that up again. Or maybe you have kids now and you're like, hey, I can introduce my kids to that. And I had a lot of fun doing that as a kid. Another idea is, what is something that you wished you could do? So I kind of alluded to this with the amazement, but it might not even be something like crazy amazing. It might just be something kind of, normal, average, whatever that you wished you could do, like juggling or magic tricks or certain card tricks, or learning how to, go to the casino and act like you know what you're doing, knowing the basics of roulette or poker or things like that. Something you wish you could do, barbecuing, making a good burger for when the family comes over, making a good steak. It could be just stuff like that. And the more you get into it and you teach others and help them, the better you get at it. And, there's a lot of benefits there. Just make sure it's not such a narrow skill that you couldn't do a whole channel around it, right? So you'd have to broaden that out a little bit and make maybe a whole cooking channel on that example. But write down the niches and categories that you have experience in. So things that you've done before. These could be jobs you've had in your career throughout your life. I used to be a bar back and make drinks and fill up ice and fix golf carts and do weird stuff. These are going to be jobs you've had, your career, things you learned and tried, businesses you started or worked at or whatnot. Then you could write down the niches or categories where you got a desirable result that others would want. Perhaps you lost weight, you made money using a certain method, or learned a skill that others would want to learn. And you could write down the stuff that you find yourself doing for fun when you have free time. Write down what you prefer if money was not a concern. I'm just kind of recapping some of these general concepts. Write down niches or categories you enjoy teaching other people about. So see, that just reminded me of another one that's related. I guess my next item on the list was write down niches or categories you could read, learn, or talk about all day and night. What it made me think of is if I asked you right now to stand up and give a 30-minute speech or presentation on something just impromptu, what would you talk about? What could you just, at the drop of a hat, just start talking about for 20, 30 minutes and go on and on and on, bore people to death or whatever? What would you talk about? And maybe you have 5 things like that. What if each day of the week I asked you to do a new speech like that, impromptu speech? And so that's actually a good idea of what you might want to start a YouTube channel about. But hopefully that helps with brainstorm. Let me know your favorite brainstorm ideas if you thought of any additional ones that maybe I helped trigger. And I will see you next time. Have a good one.